Birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution. From Cowork 591 Studios, we are the Bohemian Underground with producer Blake Tempus and guest co-host Richard Moore-Kelley. I'm Jim Gillespie, and this is the Jesup News for May 11th, 2025. Tonight we're sponsored by Mickey D's Pizza and Lobster. The Pharaohs are kind sponsors of this podcast, including them at your wedding, graduation, or festival plans. Don't wait, their schedule is filling up for 2025, and a special announcement for them. They are traveling with a mobile Steve Brown Art Center this summer as they go festival to festival. They are showing Nick Thomas art for us this summer. So we can't thank Mike and his family enough for doing that. Nick donated about 30 pieces of art. When did we interview him? Was it last winter? Not this past winter, but 2 winters ago, we interviewed him when we did a remote broadcast from the Sanity Room in Independence. Also, check out the podcast, What Is Up, with our friend Bubba Seaman. Bubba always does a nice job, has some unique guests. Bubba is looking for clicks, so check him out with clicks. Also, give us thumbs up and give us 5-star ratings, please. Tonight we're going to talk about Ted Kasinski. We're going to talk about Dr. Jessica Saunders. We're going to talk about Nayab Bukhari. We're going to talk about the jam session. The artistic collaboration is set up by our guest host. We're going to talk about our 24-hour Mustang camera. We're going to give you a little bit of Jesup news. We're going to give you the update of the Steve Brown Arts Center, and we're going to talk about the Independence High School art that's being shown in M's Coffee right now. And we're going to talk about our quest to meet 12 new artists this year. So hang on, we've got a lot to cover in about 1 hour. First, I will ask you this, Richard, before we went on the air. We've talked about this. What gave you the idea for the art collaboration, or the artist collaboration?
Well, it was when you called Tim and I together, and we were sitting having coffee over in Independence that day, and there was like some momentum that was building between Tim and I and you, and I thought, well, instead of just us sitting here talking about these things, why don't we just see if we can get a group of people together to talk about their joys, their struggles with art, celebrate who they are as artists, talk about techniques, talk about art. Get a group of people together who are interested in art. I am an oil painter, but I'll tell you, there was somebody at the one that I was at, one of the first ones that I was at, and I've been trying to do these new floral designs.
Mm-hmm.
You usually do geometric design, but I'm moving into florals.
You shared those with me. They really look good.
But I want my florals to look like flowers, or look like normal flowers, and mine don't. And the person who was at the Artist Collaborative, she said, well, your flowers are your flowers. They're not her flowers or his flowers. They're your flowers, and you make them how you want. And that's I was like, wow, that really opened up a whole new idea that I hadn't thought about.
Well, and since we started our artist collaboration, Richard, I talked to Mark down in Cedar Rapids, who owns a gallery down there in his house. It's wonderful. He's been a great supporter, and he took me under his wing and shared a lot about their art center. They show about 21 artists in their house, just their house. They have art. They have art in every room in their house. They teach art, but they have one once a week. We want to do it once a month. They do it once a week. And they have anywhere from 4 to 40 people every Saturday.
And all varieties of art?
Yeah, all varieties of art. Sometimes there's traveling artists that come to Cedar Rapids or Marion that will come in, and sometimes They just get local people. Our first 2 times, and our first time we had 8 artists. The last time there were only 2. A number of people were out of town for that. This month now, and this is for you people that were thinking about coming, this month, because we had that artist collaboration on the 4th Monday of every month. That is Memorial Day this month. So we're not having it this month, but we will again have it the 4th Monday of June, and that will be in the Land of Corn Pavilion in the Land of Corn Park in downtown Jesup that night, and we will promote that pretty hard. But this month we're not having it, so please, if you show up, don't feel. If you show up at the Lutheran Church, don't feel like we've abandoned you. That's how our artist collaboration was born, was at that meeting between you and I and Tim Kemmerer. I had lunch actually today with Tim. I did, and he did a poster for our mini show this summer. It's in the band gazebo in the park at Farmers Day. So I'm excited about that. And he did the poster. And we might as well talk about our jam session. The jam session is back together this month. It is I believe it is the 16th. Let me double check my calendar here. Sunday the 18th is in the pavilion in the park as well. And the reason we're going outside, it's too nice to be inside. Selfish reasons for me. I love to be outside. So selfish reasons for me. But that is the 18th of May as well. And there'll be more on our propaganda that we put out there. So I look forward to seeing many of you artists that came before for that. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We're at Cowork 591 Studios, beautiful downtown Jesup. I'm here with guest co-host Richard Moore-Kelley. Dale's on assignment, and I look forward to him being back and telling us about his assignment. I scared the librarian this past week as I asked her a copy of the Unabomber Manifesto by Theodore Kasinski. Many of you my age or born in the 80s would remember Ted Kasinski. Ted Kasinski lived in the mountains of Montana, I believe, and in a house about the size of the shed out back of your house. Now I'm not talking Richard's house, I'm talking just any listener's house. And he did not have technology, didn't have electricity, didn't have running water, but he was a college professor that more or less went off the grid and left that. And if you want to read more about him, go to cybereserver.org, the Unabomber, and criticized the Industrial Revolution for harming mankind, producing the left, which he described as people with inferiority complexes. I wish Dale was here to argue his point. He's saying that the left had inferiority complexes who attempt to assert power when they are powerless. He says weakening humanity's rapport with nature and producing generations of goalless, powerless people. He would have been similar to the man that wrote Walden's Pound, Henry David Thoreau. Thank you. Yeah, he'd lean toward Thoreau's way of thought there. A lot of people are convinced that Kasinski was right about his analysis of society and that only solution is to bring about serious revolution. Immediately, gradually convince the rest of the world or wait for a catastrophe so that we are forced to work for our food. So he is saying that either a war or a catastrophe has to happen. And I spoke with people, and he said there's only enough food in the pipeline for about six days of fresh food. And Kasinski argued that there needed to be a catastrophe to prove his point, whether it be through hunting. He said so people needed to have to survive through hunting and farming. He's not talking the 10,000 acre farmer. He's talking the subsistence farmer of 80 acres and a mule is what he's talking about. His manifesto convinced Kaminski that the only way was to bring about a serious revolution. And he said mankind would not be bored and thus create artificial goals if we have natural goals that we must achieve. So his argument in the manifesto is man must have natural goals rather than artificial goals.
And what's he calling artificial goals?
Artificial goals are AI.
Okay. Well, I wonder how he would feel about artificial hearts. Is that a bad thing?
Well,
I think I've struggled with technology in my life, and I resisted the cell phone, and resisted it. But I really believe that the technology that we create trickles down or trickles up one way or another. People are getting artificial hearts today. People are getting artificial knees with record recovery times because we have technology put in the hands of brilliant human beings, and you can't have one without the other.
Well, see, his argument, Richard, would be survival of the fittest. That's sort of the direction that the right wing is, survival of the fittest. The left wing is government assistance and help, where the right wing is the strong survives without the help of the government.
I'm not on that page.
Oh yeah? Kasinski went on to argue the pre-industrial revolution world was not a pretty time to live. He argued that the time before pre-industry, before the Industrial Revolution. He said infant mortality was ridiculously high. He started talking about what you're talking about here. And even if you did survive into adulthood, your quality of life would never be as good today. No refrigerated food, no concepts of sanitation, get a little cut and you'll die if it gets infected, etc. Technological progress has allowed us to solve these problems. Yes, we've introduced others, like climate change, but there's no reason they're insurmountable. Resource depletion, for example, could be solved by mining asteroids. Now he's arguing, rather than rob the Earth, we rob the asteroid.
So does that give him the justification to send packages to people and blow their arms and legs to bits?
No, it doesn't.
I mean, I wonder about why is he relevant?
He wanted to abolish civilizations completely, which is hilariously a bad idea.
Yes.
Primitive humans were by no means peaceful. Violence was endemic. If you had something like a 1 in 4 chance of dying from it, anthropologists see this when they study the few remaining primitive tribes. Rates of violence drop by orders of magnitude when civilizations is established, probably because this creates a government with a monopoly of legitimate use of force.
How is he going to solve this problem? How was he going to what was his solution?
Survival of the fittest.
It's the survival of the fittest. And would he be the fittest?
If you look at civilization when it was born, Richard, there's about 5 things, and I may leave out some things that came with it. Most civilizations were born on a river valley. Most civilizations had a form of higher government. Most civilizations had a form of higher power or religion. Most civilizations had form of communication or writing. The Tenochtitans had the bands they wore on their arms.
Okay.
And most civilizations had a specialization of labor. So none of those are wrong, especially with someone elderly that can't do work, for example, that needs help. And he is, in his manifesto, he is against that. So you get a chance, and you want to read about Ted Kasinski, the Unabomber Manifesto. Even a slow reader like me, it's 136 pages. I can even read something like that. It's called the Unabomber Manifesto. The first manifesto I introduced to the audience, Richard, was the Bohemian Manifesto. And the audience knows that. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I'm Jim Gillespie with guest co-host Richard Moore-Kelley and producer Blake Tempus. And this is the Jesup News. We are not far from Farmers' Days coming, Richard. Farmers' Days are June 19th, 20th, and 21st. Actually, they start the evening of June 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. They're early this year because of a conflict with the carnival. So we had to hire a different carnival this year, but we're going back to a later Farmers' Day next year, when it normally is. But at this year's Farmers' Day, we are having the mini art show. The mini art show is, and anybody can enter this. The mini art show, anything that you enter must be 5 inches by 7 inches or smaller. And we're going to share that in the band gazebo. So if you want to enter, you must have your art into Cowork 591 to Kelly by June. And I was talking to Tim Kimmerer. He's got 3 pieces he's entering. I talked to another artist. They have 9 pieces they're going to enter. Because they're small, it's easy to enter as many as you want. I know that you do. You do grander pieces. Yes. But that is at Farmers' Day, and this year's Farmers' Day is surrounded by is the theme of it is hogs and pigs. So I look forward to telling you more about that as time progresses.
We're going to be celebrating the pig.
Well, they are having pigs that perform, actually.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
One of them. This will be your first Farmers' Day, Richard?
It will be my first Farmers' Day.
It is.
It will be my, if I attempt.
It is a neat place for a fat man like me, Richard. It is wonderful. I love carnival food. Our sponsor, Mickey D's Pizza and Lobster, also has their truck there. They have typical Iowa Fair food there, Richard, and I plan on going off my diet. And so
I used to go to all these different town festivals back when I was in college. It was fun because each town had its own personality, it felt like, and you could go from festival to festival to all these different towns, and you could get a taste of the personality of that town.
Yep.
Michigan is known for its county fairs.
Yep.
You can, and while they may not have town festivals in Michigan, each county has a fair. And you can go to the county fairs and you can get a taste of what Michigan, the different counties in Michigan are like.
That's cool. The parade is wonderful here. They do a nice job with the parade. They have great performers here. Alan schedules a number of performers here. We are sponsoring one of the segments. The big brass band is playing in the pavilion, among other things. Alan and Mike and Dale have set up. So plan on that June 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. I can just taste the cotton candy right now. Oh my gosh, I love cotton candy.
Do they have cheese curds?
They do. They do. Yes, they do.
Do they have cheese curds that are big or small?
It depends on what truck you go to.
Oh, is it?
There is a truck up in Fairbank called Boyd's that does arguably the greatest beer battered cheese curds I have ever had. They melt in your mouth. Just incredible. You've got to follow. If I ever hear Boyd's food truck is open, I will come and get you. We'll go have his cheese curds. Oh, Richard. So, good question. That's a good question. It is my goal every month, meet a new artist. You were kind enough, Richard, to contact me late last year.
Yeah, when we were, it was about, should have been, yeah, we moved here in July, so we were probably thinking of moving in March-ish sometime.
It has become easier. For a long time, I had to search out artists, and artists are now contacting me.
Good.
Yeah, which is wonderful. It just makes life so much simpler for me. And like yourself, like Tim Kimmer, like the big brass band, I've met some great artists. I was looking at my phone. Somehow, Blake, you're gonna have to teach me how to do a slideshow on my phone to put all the events that we've had. I know they do many, not Spotify. Is it X does it for you? One of those. Or maybe Facebook does it for you.
Yeah, that's probably what you're thinking.
Yeah, Facebook does it for you. But I want to do about a 200-page one.
Wow.
Because, the events have grown and it's so much fun. But anyhow, one of my objectives this year, one of my New Year's resolutions, if you may, was to meet an artist a month. And these are the artists I've met each month so far.
All right.
Joel Weisner is an art teacher over in Independence, and he's the one that got us our artists that we're showing in M's Coffee this month. We're showing a bunch of Independence students art in M's Coffee right now.
Good.
And Joel is an artist. I am trying to prod Joel into letting us show his art. But he's a teacher, and especially this time of year, he's very busy. But he was the one I met in January. Janet Wright. She is a local musician that I met in February, and Janet is incredible. You will be able, if you come to the jam session, the 18th of May, you will be able to hear Janet play. In March, I met Alex DeGrief, and Alex was a guest on this show. He's a oil painter as well. We are going to show him, I believe it is July of this month in M's Coffee, or of this year in M's Coffee. But Judy Frotsky, who you talked about earlier.
Okay.
I knew Judy for years, and I knew she did art, and finally convinced Judy to let us show her art in M's Coffee last month. So although I knew Judy, and Dale and I discussed this, are you meeting an artist if you already know them, but you haven't seen their art?
Yeah, you're meeting them because there's a whole side to them that you don't. There's a whole creative side to them. You may have met them. They may have told you, "Hi, I'm an artist," but it's another thing to get in there. For them to allow you to get in their space, or for them, for a mutual conversation.
Yes.
And about the art or whatever,
And last week, my May artist is Rex Nielsen. Rex Nielsen is from Owine.
Okay.
He he was introduced to me by, I was in M's Coffee putting up this month's art. This lady, I bought this lady and her friend a bowl of ice cream, working around them. I felt bad. And so I bought them a bowl of ice cream, and she says to me, "Do you know Rex Nielsen from Owen?" Well, Rex was a law enforcement officer. He was a jailer over in Independence. He is into ghost hunting. He is into the paranormal. And he does art called the unexplainable art. If you go online and look up unexplainable art, it will take you to Rex Nielsen.
Oh.
And he also does what, when I was in high school, called I believe it's called stipple. You know,
Okay.
the dot art. He does that.
Called. Pointillism.
That's what he calls it. It was called something else back in the 1970s, back during the hippie. When I was, you guys,
were a hippie.
I was in high school. Yeah.
Did you have long hair when you were in high school?
I did. What I had was the, what do you call it? The mullet. I had a mullet. Everybody had a mullet back then, Richard. So, and I looked good.
Did you?
Yes, I did. I lost my mullet, among other things. But those are the 5 artists I've met so far. I am always open to meet new artists. I really enjoy. You know, like I say, I had lunch today with Tim Kemmerer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm working with you tonight. I really enjoy my time with artists that I've met. I'm not a very good artist. I spend time writing. I spend time drawing.
You should still call my friend Jim Fitzpatrick in Albuquerque.
Well,
Get hold of him.
and I tried him one time, and then you told me that he didn't want to be contacted.
Yeah, he's funny, but give him a call, talk to him, tell him I sent you.
Yes, that is, I would like to do that. On this Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, we had a wonderful concert last weekend at the First Presbyterian Church. Saunders, a friend of the Arts Center, performed there, and she did about an hour-long show. She is a professionally trained singer. She runs a voice studio here in town. She teaches at Kirkwood. I know she attends your church.
That's where her studio is.
Yeah, yeah. She is, and she performed for us. And she's also voice lessons in the library this summer for us. Very young, 4 or 5 year old kids in the library.
Wow.
Which I'm so excited about. I know she did it last year, and everybody I talked to just raved about it. So that's Dr. Jessica Saunders, and we can't thank Jessica enough for performing. Also, we want to thank the First Presbyterian Church in Independence for having us, for hosting that. We want to thank Judy Olson. Judy Olson did a bunch of legwork and advertising for us. And John Klotzbach, who's going to be on in the end of the month for a special show for an hour-long interview. He is John.
I like John.
Yes, I do too. John has done a lot of neat things, interviewed a lot of neat people. I look forward to talking in detail with John for about an hour. That's going to be the show at the end of this month.
Oh wow, boy! Let me know when he comes on. I might show up that night just to hear him.
Yeah, I will. Sort of an outline of our show this coming month, or as I said, Next week we have Rex Nielsen on. The following week we have a special show in M's Coffee. We're broadcasting from M's Coffee. That then the final show of the month will be John Klotzbach back in our studio here.
What's going on at M's that we're doing it there?
They've been so kind to us that we wanted to repay the favor by going. So we'll interview Emily. Yeah. We're going to interview Aiden Anderson there from the Big Brass Band. We'll interview Emily's mother, Tammy. Em has been so supportive of the Arts Center, and we need to give back to what she's done for us. So
let me know. I'll go to that one.
Oh yes, I will. So this is the Steve Brown Arts Center Broadcast Network, and we want to talk about. Many people have been talking about this man, and I can't remember his name, from Massachusetts, that is being held in El Salvador.
Garcia,
yes.
His last name's Garcia. I can't remember the first name.
And I want to talk about when President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador met with business leaders from across Latin America in February to encourage. He said he was hoping an economic miracle in the country would eclipse the security miracle that he brought to El Salvador. Here are some numbers that you cannot argue. Under Bukele's leadership, the country's murder rate has plummeted from 51 per 100,000 people in 2019 to 1.9 per 100,000 in 2024. That's a drop of almost 50 people. Just remarkable. This has made him one of the world's most popular leaders, registering an 83% approval rating in January. However, the problem is still the cost of living, and the poverty rate increased from like 27% to 31% in El Salvador. It's getting worse under this man. Again, he leans toward the right wing. He does not help his constituents as much as earlier people did. Against the backdrop, Bukele met with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in February, agreeing to accept flights of supposed criminal migrants from the U.S. and imprison them. In return, Bukele reportedly asked for two things, and I believe that payment was, and this is a number I've heard, and it could be different, if he received $7 million. And he also wanted high-ranking Salvadorian gang leaders facing trial in the U.S. returned to him. So he wanted, by doing that, he could show that he was punishing the gangs of El Salvador by bringing those leaders back to El Salvador. Well, that's how Garcia ended up in El Salvador. Garcia has a bunch of tattoos on his fingers, and some of those look sort of like a gang
symbol.
They arrested Garcia, or they sent Garcia off to El Salvador. According to the New York Times, the latter requested alarmed U.S. Justice Department officials who have spent years building cases against the gang leaders. Allegedly, they had committed crimes in the U.S. and they had cut secret deals with the Bukele administration through at least 2022 to lower the official murder rate in return for special treatment. So if you send these guys back, who's to say that he can replace them, take somebody off the street, replace them, and let those gang leaders go in El Salvador? See, that was why we would not give Bukele these gang leaders. But the President Trump, wanted to show his strength. You know, his number one success rate right now is his deporting immigration. But if you look at those numbers, Richard, he hasn't deported as many as Biden has.
Other presidents, maybe Obama, maybe Biden, have not brought that sort of persona to it. For example, when he waves his little hand in the air like this, that's a white power sign. It's not a fist raising in the air of victory. It's a white power sign to a certain group of people, a certain population, who want to do damage to people of color. This isn't just because I'm a nice guy and we're friendly kind of people.
Right.
This is something more. If you had a black man stand up in the middle of Farmers Day and raise his fist in the air, how would that go over? Wouldn't go over very good.
If you look ahead for Bukele here, given that the Trump administration is slashing international aid programs and accelerating deportation, Bukele is unlikely to receive development funding from the U.S. at all.
And I think any you have, even in the United States, when we went through our big prison build in the 80s and 90s, when everybody was building prisons and we were on this supermax kick. Every state needed to build a supermax, right? Because they were going to be tough on crime, right? They're going to put all the violent people in these supermax prisons. Anytime you build an economy or a country on punitive, it's very flimsy. Very flimsy.
It is. If you look at, Bukele is likely to see a reduction of funds to El Salvador, a critical pillar of the country's economy. Mm-hmm. What the U.S. Stabilizes a lot of economy. In 2023, they amounted to about $8.2 billion, about 24% of their gross domestic production. Think of that. $1 in $4 that they made was given to them by the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's not gonna see that, but that $7 million will help him feel better, though. Help him feel better.
It might make him feel better for a while.
It'll make him feel better. It won't make the rest of the country feel better. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I notice you have an NPR shirt on.
Yes, indeed.
And I see that President Trump signed a presidential order canceling federal funding to NPR. But the problem has okayed that funding. Okayed that funding.
2 years out, in fact.
Yeah. And so I don't believe that President Trump can win that court case to stop that money from going to NPR.
No, I don't believe so either.
And there's enough Republicans in the Senate and in the House that use it in their states as voice boxes,
mm-hmm.
that they don't want to give up that free advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So they would never vote against dropping National Public Radio, public television.
I believe that President Trump's executive order to stop funding for NPR, like I say, going nowhere. I don't believe it is people who listen to NPR on notice. We are watching. We are listening to you. We are suspicious of you. You're on notice.
I really believe. I don't know if he's coming after the listeners or if he's kowtowing to his 20% base, because what President Trump has is about a 20% base. So he can do what he wants, and those people will support him. And with right-wing radio, Sean Hannity and that group, Mark Levine, as long as they support him, he will look fine in front of those 20%. Yeah, but he has to speak to his base, and that's the way to do it. Unfortunately.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I lost my track of thought.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
The Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. If you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link. As always, make sure you check out the 24-hour Mustang camera sponsored by Joe's Pizza in Independence. Joe is a great supporter. He, along with our technician and producer of every month, if you want to join us, join the Artist Collaborative the fourth Monday of every month except this month. I'm Jim Gillespie, guest co-host Richard Moore-Kelley, and producer Blake Tempus. As always, we got to thank Kelly Seahaas. And Kelly, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for your help on our mini art show this summer. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your life. One other thing, we've got a great listener, Katie Belvins. Katie Belvins is in the hospital right now, recovering from surgery. And Katie, get your butt out of that hospital and get home. Remember, Katie, and this is especially for you, each day is about little victories.